Despair and devotion, disposing of life. Sometimes there are situations in life when we feel utterly desperate. Several strokes of fate can come together: loss, illness, excessive demands, loneliness. Sometimes we suffer so much that we can no longer see a way out. In such moments, some people even consider suicide, or the desire to simply end their suffering. The crucial question is, what do we do at this point? There is a turning point that is often overlooked. The moment when I admit to myself that I cannot bear this alone. Surrender begins right there. Not as giving up on life, but as giving up on going it alone. In my distress, I can turn to a higher, good reality. Whether we call it God, Jesus, the higher self, or the divine. The name is secondary. What is crucial is the inner movement. I surrender my despair, my pain, my suffering. And sometimes, not always immediately, but for real, something happens that feels like an inner transformation. Something changes. Not necessarily the situation, but my inner state. I have experienced this myself. It was noticeably different. Without me being able to describe it fully, you can imagine it like a fork in the road. One path leads downhill, seemingly easier, seemingly faster. The other path leads uphill, more difficult, more demanding, slower. Surrender is this path uphill. And suddenly I see life from a different perspective. I begin to understand that suffering is not meaningless, not as punishment, but as part of a journey of development. Just by articulating my suffering, by expressing it, by putting it into words, the process of coming to terms with it begins. Alcohol or drugs sometimes seem like a quick route to happiness, or at least to numbness, but they are not sustainable. On the contrary, they can intensify emotions, trigger aggression, destroy relationships, and increase suffering. They do not lead out of crisis. They postpone it. A concrete experience, support in great need. During Christmas carol singing, a man shared that he works in the management of a home and urgently needs staff. In prayer, he said, "I need 4 applications by next Friday." The week passed, nothing happened. Then he prayed again, and suddenly, in a single day, 4 applications arrived. Anyone who does not believe in miracles is not realistic. This experience shows that we are not alone, not in every little thing, but in times of great need. We can turn to a higher power and experience guidance. Being incarnated here is no coincidence. It is a special privilege, and it is not given to every soul. Why? Because here on earth, spiritual development is possible at a density and speed that occurs much more slowly in other levels of consciousness. This world is not an easy place, but it is an effective place. Precisely because it knows resistance, friction, and pain, growth can occur here. And this development often happens particularly quickly in life crises, or through great suffering. Not because suffering is good in itself, but because in such moments we are often truly ready for the first time to let go of old ways and walk new ones. As long as everything is working, we hold on to habits, to identities, to ideas of who we are and how life should be. In a crisis, however, many things become fragile. And that is precisely where space sometimes opens up for something new. Eckhart Tolle once said something along these lines about a person who had suffered greatly. After this suffering, his entire ego was burned away. There was nothing left for him to hold on to. And that is precisely what set him free. Perhaps sometimes there is no other way. Perhaps sometimes it takes the collapse of what we thought we were for something deeper to become visible. But, and this is important, there is also another way. There is development through insight, through awareness, through surrender. Before life forces us to let go of everything, this path is quieter, less painful, but it requires honesty, courage, and inner work. It is about memory and the life that we truly are beyond fear, role, and ego. And perhaps that is precisely the deeper meaning of this incarnation. Not to suffer, but to awaken in suffering, or even without it. What do apocryphal sources and other religions say about this? In Christianity, suicide is considered a breach of a divine command. The Gospel of Thomas, the Pistis Sophia, and the Odes of Solomon are very clear on one point: life is a learning process. In Christianity, suicide is considered a breach of a divine mission. The Gospel of Thomas, the Pistis Sophia, and the Odes of Solomon are very clear on one point: life is a space for learning and maturing. Those who leave the path prematurely leave the school, not the lessons. In Judaism, life is sacred. Suicide is strictly forbidden. In Islam, life belongs to God alone. Suicide is strictly forbidden. In Buddhism, suicide does not end suffering, but creates new suffering. Consciousness continues, often under more difficult conditions. In Hinduism, suicide worsens karma. It leads to a bound existence in astral worlds. Reincarnation usually takes place under difficult circumstances. The common essence of all world religions. Suicide is not a solution, but a postponement of the learning process. Suffering does not end with the body. It is not erased, but shifted. Many spiritual traditions, near-death reports, and also Elizabeth Kubler-Ross point out that after suicide, souls often remain bound to unresolved issues, fear, guilt, confusion, not as punishment, but as a consequence. UA. The earth is a dense place. Painful, yes, but it offers a higher speed of development than the so-called astral or afterlife worlds. Surrender as the ideal solution. A life crisis or great suffering can be a trigger or an opportunity to truly surrender for the first time. Many people report the first genuine act of surrender feels like enlightenment, as if a new dimension were opening up. This experience can last a lifetime, and this is not limited to the Christian cultural sphere. I also know of reports from the Islamic world of people who were severely addicted to alcohol, who endangered their families, and who, through a deep religious conversion, became completely free of it and led a life of integrity. Suicide is a missed opportunity and a postponement of learning to more difficult levels. Suffering does not end when the body dies, but it can be transformed if we remain. Devotion is not a retreat from life. It is the most courageous step into life, the door to a life on a higher level of consciousness. What joy! Looking back, one wonders how one could have even thought of suicide at the time. We should not forget that some people advise suicide because they want to free themselves from responsibilities. Even in old age, a lot of bad karma can still be reduced and good karma built up. Should one let this opportunity pass?